Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back, and as always, huge massive thank you for the support. Firstly, just wanted to say thank you for all the support and the sort of messages you sent me regarding George. The house certainly is a lot quieter without him, and still have Henry, and of course he's got the run of the house now, which is a new experience for him because him and George didn't get on, so we had to have the gates up, separating them at all times. So it's a lot less pressure on us as well to try and keep them apart. But Henry is not. Henry's a sleeper mainly. You know, he's on guard duty all the time, but he rests in between. Whereas George was quite a friendly little soul, really. You know, always happy to see you, always wanting to know what's going on and stuff. So it's quite a different household at the minute. But I thought what I'll do is I'll get back to the crafting, obviously, and I thought I'd come back with the blushing blossoms, finish this off. So I did one video on this, so I'm going to do two more just to finish this set off, and then I'm going to start working through the current members free gift, which is the beautiful purple sort of flowery one. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But this is blushing blossoms, like I said, Flourishing Florals. So we've got the sort of roses and your sort of tea roses, very beautiful sort of floral images on here, with the pink foiling, which is different. There's your foiled cardstock and your printed cardstock, and then obviously I've got the big pack with the insert. So we've got two inserts there, and because this is the pink foiling, I did get the Blushing Blossoms coordinating foil pack, and this seems to be the closest match in there. Let me just bring those in. I did have a quick look through, so I know I did use two the other day, but I think they were more peachy. So I'm thinking this kind of purpley one is closest to it, so that's what I'm going to use. If I pop, actually take one of those out near the top, and I think we'll go with that printed to start with. Okay, so let's pop those out of the way. I'll pop those on the top so that they're ready to go. And I'm going to start with a really easy, just to get me back into it, the stepper card that I like to do, the little 6x6 one. So I've got a piece of 6x12 cardstock, and I'm going to pop this in my trimmer up to the 1 inch mark, and I'm going to cut from 1 to 7 inches, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So 1 inches, and then I'll go back down this time, 7 to the 1. And then, just because it's quite hard for me to find the score line in the middle, what I'm going to do is just pop this on the 6 inch mark, because that's the halfway point, and then I can just find the little groove there, and that's going to put that score line in. And I do go over it on the scoreboard, but it's just really helpful to help me find it, especially when it's between those 2 points that I don't want to cut into. So let's grab the scoreboard, and I'm going to score at 1 inch, 2 inch and 7 inch, and then I will just go along that 6 inch mark. Like I said, it's just going to put a deeper score in there, but now it's easy to find for me. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, so 1 inch, 2 inch and 7 inch. And then if we pop that out of the way, let's bring in my little burnishing tool. I'm just going to fold those down. So we've got mountain folds at the top, we've got a mountain and a valley and a mountain. And then what you should find is it all starts to come together. So now I can just go in, give those a burnish down with this sort of porcelain burnishing tool, bone folder, and just making sure that those edges stay nice and straight outside. Just makes the card look better when it's folding. And not forgetting those underneath scores. Oh, and that one at the top as well. That would be helpful. And then we're going to end up with our card. And we can actually have it standing like so. You might even want to have it going that way if you wanted to, if you had a topper that was going that way. But I'm going to use it in my sort of traditional sense. So I could just see there was an edge there poking up. So let's pop that to the side. I'm going to bring in my trimmer again and the foil card that I've chosen. Okay, so I'm going to start by cutting a piece that is 2 notches under 6, and I'm doing that to aim. So I've got a piece of smaller cardstock to work with, but I know that the longest piece I've got is 6 inches. So I just want to take 2 notches, which is the equivalent of 1/8 of an inch off. Okay, so now I can put this onto this side and I can cut 2 notches off of 1 inch, and that's going to go nicely onto the front there. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to cut it to 2 notches under 5 inch. So I've got a piece there that I won't use. And then I want 2 pieces that are 1 by 5. So I'm going to take 2 notches off the one. And that should fit rather nicely into there. And then I need 1 for the other side. So again, so that's 2 notches off the one. So 1/8 of an inch off the one by 1/8 of an inch off the 5 inch. Or 2 notches. And then this piece here is a 4 by 5. So we've got 2 notches off the 5, and then I'm going to take 2 notches, or 1/8 of an inch off the 4. And that, although we've got a nice little piece there, we can always use the border maybe if you want it to and you don't like the waist, and that's going to fit rather nicely onto there. Okay, so I'm going to again take this and cut this at 5 3/4 of an inch. Again, it's a smaller piece for me to work with, and I am only going to be using with the patterned pieces. So I can rotate that around and I can cut that now at 3/4 of an inch, and that is going to fit onto our border that we cut there. And then I'm going to turn this around. No, I'm going to turn it back that way. So, and I'm going to cut it to 4 3/4. So again, I've got a nice chunk there. And then we want 2 pieces for these side arms, which are going to be 3/4 of an inch by 4 3/4 of an inch. So just going to repeat that. And then this centre piece, which was 4 by 5, so we're going to go with 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, and that should fit rather nicely on there. Now I'm going to keep these quite plain. I say plain in that I'm not doing anything with them. They're beautiful enough to just put directly onto the card. But don't forget, you can always bring in your embossing folders, you know, your dot embossing folders, stripes, script. All of those things are going to add to this. Okay, so the glues I'm going to be using today, I'm going to use tacky glue, Cloud tacky glue, Cloud all-purpose glue, and I'm going to use the Hunkydory dot pen. Now, I did have a sort of message on my YouTube to say that I didn't need to use all of these glues, and you're absolutely right, I don't need to use all of these glues. I have said before in the past, you can get away with using any one of these glues. I tend to use the 2 for 2 reasons. One, I really love the all-purpose glue. It's my favourite glue. But the problem I have when I'm making a video is that really the all-purpose glue does tend to need a little bit of time of not being handled just to sort of glue down. And And obviously if I'm working for a video, I don't want to be stopping and starting. I want to be sort of getting it done so I can get on with the editing, which is the longest process. So that's why I use the 2 glues. So on smaller pieces like this, I tend to use the glue dots just because they're super quick to use. And at some point in the future, I'm probably going to go over to just using glue dots rather than the tacky glue. Just because they're super easy to use, so why wouldn't I? But as I have got quite a bit of tacky glue here, I mean a couple of bottles, it's worth me using a lot of that up and maybe just saving it for my box making. But you absolutely do not need to use all of these glues. It's just easier for me to make a video with them this way, so that's why I do it. Okay, so I've just matted and layered those down. And obviously if you've got a glue that works for you, I mean obviously I find it works for me here where I am in the UK with the changes in the weather and the heat and etc. So I find it works for me. But if you've got a glue wherever you are that you are happy with, I'm never ever going to tell you to change that, because it's all personal glue. Glues and cutting boards, embossing boards, etc. I think they are very personal crafting items, and that even I'll give you an example. I used to use a tonic cutting trimmer, and I didn't have any blades for my I'm not sure who that is. Who is it? I'm using. Oh, it's a Stampin' Up one. That was Mum's. I didn't have any blades for that. So I saw that there were some blades on tonic, so I bought a couple of blades and popped them in. I thought, oh, it's going to be great. I can use this trimmer again, because I did really enjoy using it. And what I found was I couldn't get it to cut right. Like all of my layers were off. And it wasn't just like one thing, everything I cut was off. So I managed to find some more blades for my Hunkydory, for this Stampin' Up one, which I used the Hunkydory blades in. And I went back to that and I didn't have a problem again. And this is what I mean by things being personal. You get used to what you're using, and there are things that work better for everyone. There's so much choice out there that you can use whatever is good for you, is what I'm saying in a very long-winded way, so apologies. So let's just pop this trimmer out. Oh, we've got Henry in the room. What do you want, Hens? What do you want? Oh, I think you might want to go for a wee, so just pop this down and I'll just pause the video. There we go. Right, bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, apologies. So he just wanted to go out. Right, so I want those, and I also want this little border. So let's just snip that out carefully. And then for a sentiment, I think I'm going to go with wishing you a beautiful day. There's quite a nice lot of small sentiments on this one, so that's quite cool. Okay, so this I need to cut down, so let's just grab my trimmer. So this is going to go along that bottom piece. So I'm going to tidy up that end that I cut. And again, we'll go to 5 3/4. You can keep those little bits. Sometimes they're quite handy as little flags or something. Okay, so now we have our elements. So let's do some assembling. So I can see I've just got a little pip there and there. And there. And there. I'm not using that inner frame as per usual. That is fine. That one's fine. There we go. I think that's good. Okay, so the plan is nice and simple. I'm going to pop this on here. I'm probably going to go flat with that just for the maximum amount of sort of difference between those. And then we're going to have our wishing you a beautiful day. Even though we've got best wishes on there, we could get away with leaving it off actually. Yeah, we'll leave it off. We'll just have that. And then I will grab some pink gems and we'll go with some gems down the side. So that is the plan. So because I'm not going to put a sentiment on here, what I will do is just raise that 2 millimeters. So I'm just going to pop a nice amount on here. Trying to get them flush in the middle because they are quite a close. Actually, I've got a small one here. Let's just grab that just on the end. And I'm going to use my Hunkydory glue stick on the back of these pads just to give me that little bit of wiggle room time. I have really been using this more than putting glue on the back. The only time I wouldn't is if you're sort of close to your cardstock because you don't want that purple going on. Even though it dries clear, it you still do see a little bit of it, I think, anyway. Okay, so I have cut a lot of 2 millimeter strips in half. So let's just pop these on for support. And go around. So you'll have to let me know what you think of the new Christmas blockbuster. It did give us quite a long time to work on it this time. Usually we only get a couple of days or a weekend, a long weekend sort of thing. But we did get quite a long time to work on that, which is great because I was really struggling creatively, obviously with George and things. But I was quite happy with what I did in the end. But there's a lot of lovely toppers in there. I'm not sure if I'm going to do Christmas crafting straight away. Last year and I think the previous year, I sort of did videos along with what they were showing, what was on at the time. But it's so hot outside and I'm not feeling the Christmas vibe this year. So I might do it differently, maybe take a kit and do 3 videos each month, maybe spread them out. You have to let me know what you think. I mean, obviously it depends on what the kits are, because sometimes there are some kits you just have to get and work or play with because they are amazing. And I know there are, well, there's another video that I've started that of a sneak peek, which is really lovely as well. I think you'll love. I'm not allowed to say anymore, but let's just pop that up and in. Just make sure that's nice and straight. You can see how easy it slides with the glue stick. So for the back of this one, because I want to be able to move it into position, I am just going to use the all-purpose glue. And because it's in the middle, it shouldn't move because it's not going to get touched. And what you can do, if you're not sure, you can always just pop that frame in, don't glue it, and then just use it to line up your topper. I'm feeling like that is a good spot. And then if I grab some gems, which have disappeared, where's my favourite gems from? Got blue. Okay, let's have a look at those are a bit too pink. Or, I know why I put all these ready, didn't I? Because these are the ones I was playing with before. Okay, I think I might go with these ones. I'll use those little enamel ones because they're a bit too small. Or, no, I'm going to use these enamel ones. Change my mind. See how quickly I change my mind. And what I'm going to do is have them go in. These ones came from Crafter's Companion. These are not showing up very well, so that's exactly the same colour, so that's not going to work. So let's go back to these. There might be two, yeah, there's two I was going to say shapes, so I don't mean shapes, I mean sizes. So let's do this with the shiny ones. So let's go 1, 2. I don't know if you can hear all the tweeting outside, but I've got a little family of really noisy blackbirds. And the reason why they tweet so much is because the magpies are after their children. And you know, obviously it's circle of life and stuff, they've got their babies to feed, and they know they're holed up in the ivy down the back of the fence at the back. So they do a lot of tweeting, so if you do hear them, I do apologise, there isn't anything I can do about them, but they certainly are very noisy. Alright, let's pop these into there. Might have those back out again in a minute. There we go. And that's what we're going to go with. So. And if you wanted to, you could just do three at the top, 3 going across, maybe you know, like a corner. You could have 3 in the middle. You know, loads of different ways to do the gems. Just whatever you feel. Okay, and that is going to be my little stepper card as card number 1. Let's just move that over a little bit. There we go. And the good thing about that glue is that if you do want to just minutely move things around, it does dry clear, so anything that comes out the edge. But that is card number 1, and I'm just going to get set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, again I've got a piece of 6 by 12, and I thought I would do a little reverse easel for this one. So it's quite a big square topper, so I thought it would look quite cool. So I'm going to score at 3 inches and at 6 inches. So obviously 6 inches is going to be the halfway point, and then that 3 inches is going to be the piece that we fold back. So let's do it this way. The card's just a little whiter on one side. So just get that burnish down. And then we're going to fold that back. So it's really as if you're doing a fold back card at this point. Okay, but what we'll do is our piece will go on here, and then our card will stand like so. Now you can decorate the back piece here. I'm not going to today, but it does look nice when you do. Maybe a case, if you've got the big bundle with this, there is the 8x8 pad, so maybe that would look rather nice in there. And I might go and grab it and do it, but we'll see. Okay, so let's start. So I want a piece of mirror card. Now the thing about doing these is they're great, but they do require extra mirror card and matting and layering, because you're decorating both the bottom and the top. So this is the same with any easel card really. So this piece here is 6 by 6, so I'm going to take 2 notches off the 6, or 1/8 off the 6, like so, and that one's going to map onto there quite nicely. And I just turn it upside down so the mirror doesn't glare on the camera, but no real reason, no rhyme or reason to it really apart from that. So then this piece I'm going to cut this way because it's just slightly under the 2 notches under the 6, and then we want to be 2 notches under the 3. So you're taking 1/8 of an inch off the 6 and the 3 to get our mat to go on here. Now I'm going to be using a little bit of acetate. This is Crafter's Companion heavy duty acetate. It comes in an A5 sort of size. And I'm going to cut this down to, I don't need it to be 6 by 6. So that's 3 inches. So I'm going to take it to 4 inches by 2 notches under the 6. It's fine. Okay. I've already, oh no, we need this still because we're doing the layers. I've already cut from the insert, which is going on the bottom. That is a 5 3/4 square. I only cut that beforehand just because I used the other trimmer. And then we want a piece from here, so I'm going to cut this to 5 3/4. And actually I was looking at that side, but thinking maybe that side might be nice with the floral. Let's do it with that side at that. We'll keep this foiled piece for another day. And I just want a piece for here, so it needs to be 2 3/4. And I do with that. Let's do it with a foiled side. That was the plan originally. We've still got a bit of it on that piece there. So 2 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that should fit onto our mat here, like so. Perfect. So that is all of the layers. So basically with my layers, I just go down 1/8 of an inch on each one. Okay, so let's start with this big piece. So coming in with my all-purpose, a little bit of tacky on the corners, which just glues that a little bit quicker than the all-purpose. Just means I don't have to worry about it moving quite as much as if I just use the all-purpose. Like so. And then because you can't use the tacky glue on paper because it's got a water content on it which will bubble your paper up. So the glue dots are perfect for this. So this is another reason why I'm probably going to go over to the dots permanently as my second glue. And I still got that ability to wiggle it into place. So you could use glue dots all over it, but obviously you do have to be a little bit more careful, although I have to say you can pick it up and pop it down. It's only permanent after it's been stuck for a little while. But that is our base, looking quite pretty as it is. So this Crafter's Companion acetate has got a protective layer on one of the sides. That's this side. So I'm just going to use my knife, and not all companies do this, but on this set that I had from Crafter's Companion they did. I don't know if they still do. And all you need to do is just take that off, and then you get your nice clean piece of acetate. If you leave it on, it's just a little bit cloudy. Okay, so now I'm just going to make sure I've got that there. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in some red liner tape. Pop that on. 2 seconds. Okay, apologies. It's got a very gurgly tummy for some reason. Okay, so I've just put a piece of red liner tape on each side. And what I'm going to do is just pop that off one side. And then I'm going to line it up with the bottom of my card. And pop it down. And then this piece here, what I'm going to do is just fold over, because I am going to put my normal glues on this mirror card. With this red liner tape wool, because the normal glues won't really stick to the acetate, so by putting that little bit of red liner tape in there, we can just get that lined up how we want it, and that's going to stick that down. It is a little bit gluey, but now we've got our piece that's going to go like so. Okay, so now I can just go back to my normal glues and pop this on. So it's only that acetate that just requires a little bit more thinking about in terms of glue. And then this is going to go onto here. Like so. Okay, so that's how we're looking, and obviously that's going to stand up. Now, if I bring in the topper, so the topper is going to give this acetate a bit of stability, and it's going to help everything be just a little bit more rigid to stand on a shelf. So, and obviously I'm using that really lovely big one. Let's go with that sentiment that I used from before. That's going to be my stopper on the bottom. And I'm probably not going to use all of these layers again. We'll have a look. We might try crisscrossing them over, which is Hunkydory trend at the minute. And let's just pop them out. I mean, if I don't use it on here, I can always use it on an image from the book. So we've got flowers at the top and the bottom, so I'm going to put those on there like so. Let's see what it looks like with that on. It does look quite pretty, doesn't it? Okay, let's do that. So what I'm going to do then is pop this one on flat. So let's just use a little bit of tacky glue on this. Could use all purpose. Just being careful not to go over the edge onto that acetate. I don't want that to show on the back. And then what I'm going to do is just make sure I'm happy with where that is. I think that looks, could come down just a bit. There we go. I think that's, so we've got a nice bit at the top, we've got a slightly wider bit at the bottom, so we've got that sort of base image coming through, which is what I want. And then this one we're going to pop over the top. So I'm going to use some, we'll use 2mm again. It's my foam pad of choice at the moment. Now, is this going to be thin enough for here? Oh, it is. It probably isn't. Let's just cut that down a little narrower. So I'm just going to pop them onto the corners. And again, this one's a little wide. And we'll see if we can pop them anywhere else. I'm thinking, actually what I might have is just checking the strip, but it's the wide strip, and just cut a thin piece off. This is going to be a little bit quicker, I think. Okay, so we can pop some along here. I don't want to put any there because then they'll be seen on the other side. So this doesn't have a particular way, so that is perfect. So I can just pop a piece on here. And a little piece on here. Stick it in. Okay, and then just checking that that's not going to be, oh, that one's going to be seen on the other side. So let's take that off. What I can do is use my little glue eraser to take that off, all evidence away, like so. Sorry if it makes the camera shake. And then if I just pop look, it needs to be just on the side. So if I pop a little tiny piece there and a little tiny piece here, and I believe we should be fine, but let's just I keep that slightly higher up, we should be fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take these off. Oops. All the way around. Again, I'm going to go with a little bit of glue stick just to give me that little bit of wiggle room time. And what we can do is just bring that in, just to check that we're okay there. I think that's going to be fine. They are a little higher on that side at the top, but I think that's going to be fine because of our topper. And then this one, what I'm going to do, if I flip that over, put that on, grab a little pencil. Oh, no good, got a nib in it. Just pop a little line where those bars are. I can pop a pad. Let's just see, so we've got this way, so we can pop a couple of pads along there just for support, and just to check. Yep, I'm happy with that. So let's pop those off. Just going to very carefully add a little bit of all-purpose bit of glue stick, and then just going to pop a little bit of glue on there, and then over that goes. Looking good on that side, so that's perfect. And then this one here, we're going to use, actually we'll use some of this. Again, this is 2mm foam pad. I'm going to use this as my stopper Again, I'm going to pop a little bit of glue stick on just to get that into the right place. And what I can see is also this is just curling a little, so let's just straighten that out. And then I'm kind of thinking around about there. Let's bring in my little straight ruler. Get out the way a second. There we go, that's perfect. So you want that about halfway or so, and then that's going to slip under. Now what I can see is that this topper is now, because I haven't put any glue behind there, it is trying to come away from the acetate, so it's popping where I don't want it to. So what I'm going to do for that is, let's see if maybe this will work. So I'm going to pop one of these out. Worst comes to worst, I'm going to put a glue stick and then hide it with a part of something underneath. No, I don't like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I won't do this on camera, but I am going to pop a little glue pad under there and under here. Actually, probably should have been a little bit of red liner tape because this layer was flat, but we'll see what it looks like. We can always take it off and mend. Put this down. And now when we put that up, you can see how it sticks together. Now what I will do behind the scenes is just take a little piece of paper from the 8x8 pad that came with the bundle. I'm just going to pop a strip along there just to hide those foam pads. I mean, they're not so terrible, you don't see them when the card is up, but it's just nice to finish it off beforehand. But that is card number 2. I'm not going to put any gems on, I'm just going to leave it like so. So that's our little reverse easel. And then we have our first card, which was that little stepper card. So these have been from that Flourishing Florals. Of course, we've still got all of these bits left to use. Still got 2 pieces of cardstock, which would make a 6x6 card. So we've got that piece that's floral, so that's an extra piece. We've got that one with the image on. Really, you only need a sentiment on there. Same again with that one. Don't really need to put much on there. They've both got really lovely floral images on. But I will be back again with another set from this kit next time. But until then, thanks for watching, thanks for bearing with me, and happy crafting. Bye!